All right, let's talk about one of the greatest mysteries of all time. We're diving into a legendary artifact, a sacred chest that ancient texts say held almost unimaginable power. We're talking about an object that didn't just witness history, it made history. And then, it just vanished.
The legends about the Ark of the Covenant aren't exactly subtle. They talk about a force so immense it could bring down fortifications, wipe out entire armies, a power that was seen as nothing less than divine judgment made real.
But here's the thing. This power wasn't just a weapon to be pointed at enemies. It was dangerous. It was unpredictable. The stories say that wherever it went, plagues would break out, people would get sick, and anyone who disrespected it would meet a swift and terrible end. It had this aura of profound and, often deadly mystery. So after centuries of being at the absolute center of events, poof, it's gone. No historical record of it being captured, no mention of it being destroyed. It just evaporates from the pages of history, leaving behind this giant question mark that's fascinated people for more than 2,000 years. So what exactly was this thing?
To really get a handle on the mystery, we have to go all the way back to the beginning. The story of the Ark doesn't start with someone finding it. It starts with a command, a set of very specific, divine instructions given to the prophet Moses on Mount Sinai.
So what was its purpose? Well, according to the holy texts, it was meant to be way more than just a fancy box for the Ten Commandments. Its real job was to be a physical anchor for God's presence on earth, a direct, tangible link between the divine and the mortal world. And the instructions for how to build it are incredibly specific, almost like a technical blueprint. This was no ordinary chest. Think about it. Acacia wood is a great electrical insulator. And what do you do with it? You cover it, inside and out, with pure gold, one of the best electrical conductors there is. Then you add permanent carrying poles, so no one ever touches the Ark itself. And the lid, the mercy seat, was solid gold where God's presence was said to literally manifest.
So what was inside this amazing object? 3 incredibly sacred things. You have the tablets with the 10 Commandments, that's God's law. You have a jar of manna, the miracle food, that's God's provision. And you have Aaron's staff, which miraculously came back to life, that's God's authority. Put them all together and you have this powerful symbol of divine history and power.
Okay, so we've got this holy box. But this is where the story gets really wild, because the accounts of its power go way beyond symbolism, and they've sparked a debate that is still raging today. Let's start with the big one, the walls of Jericho. This is probably the most famous story. The Israelites marched around this impenetrable city with the Ark, and on the last day, they blow their trumpets, let out a massive shout, and the walls just crumble. So the question is, was it a pure miracle, or was something else going on?
And get this power wasn't just a weapon for one side. Later, the Philistines actually capture the Ark in battle. They're celebrating this huge victory. But then, a horrible plague breaks out. We're talking skin diseases, sickness, death. It followed the Ark wherever they moved it until they were so terrified they just had to give it back.
And this all brings us to the central debate. On one hand, you have the divine miracle explanation. The Ark is simply a channel for God's power. End of story. But on the other hand, some people look at the evidence and see a piece of ancient technology. Remember the design? An insulator covered by a conductor? That's basically the design of a capacitor, a device for storing huge amounts of electrical energy. Could the plagues have been a form of radiation sickness? Could the walls of Jericho have been brought down by a precise sonic frequency?
And if you're not so sure about that ancient tech idea, just listen to what happened when people mishandled it. 70 villagers dead on the spot just for looking at it. The Torah tells a story of Aaron's own sons being killed by bright sparks when they got too close. And the description is chilling. Their organs were cooked from the inside out, but their bodies showed no burns on the outside. Doesn't that sound an awful lot like death by electrocution or intense radiation?
So for centuries, this incredibly powerful, incredibly dangerous object sat in the holiest place in Solomon's temple in Jerusalem. But its time in the spotlight was about to come to a sudden end.
So look at this timeline. The crucial moment is right here. For almost 1,000 years, the Ark is a real, physical object. It exists. It's carried, it's worshipped, it's housed in the temple. Then, 587 BCE, the Babylonians sack Jerusalem, they destroy the temple, and in all that chaos, the Ark is gone. And here's the strangest part. The Babylonians never once mention capturing it. You know if they'd found the ultimate treasure of an enemy, they would have bragged about it endlessly. But there's just silence. It simply evaporates from history.
And that one event, that vanishing act, kicks off maybe the longest and most intense treasure hunt in human history. We're talking a search that spanned millennia, involving everyone from religious scholars and archaeologists to secret societies. So, where do they think it went?
Well, as you can see, there is no easy answer. The leading theory is that it never actually left Jerusalem at all, that it was hidden away before the city fell. But some other very compelling, very persistent legends point to places all over the world. Let's break down the main contenders.
So, the Jerusalem theory suggests priests hid it in a secret chamber under the Temple Mount right before the invasion, a theory that gets a boost from ancient texts like the Copper Scroll. Then there's the incredible Ethiopian tradition, which claims that King Solomon's son smuggled the real Ark to Ethiopia, and that it's protected by a single guardian monk to this very day. Of course, you have the Knights Templar, who supposedly found it during the Crusades and hid it somewhere in Europe, or maybe even North America. And then, completely out of left field, there's a theory it was taken to a mountain in Japan.
But why? Why this relentless, centuries-long search? It's because for millions of people, the Ark isn't just some historical relic. It's a key to the future. It's an object that is tied directly to prophecies about the end of the world as we know it.
And this right here is why its discovery would be such a world-changing event. Look at this. Its return is a pivotal moment in the end-time prophecies of 3 of the world's major religions. In Judaism, finding it is seen as the signal to build the third temple. In some Christian traditions, its return is linked to the Second Coming. And in Islamic belief, it's foretold that the Ark will be brought forth by the Mahdi. This is why finding it is more than just archaeology.
And so the Ark represents this powerful, dangerous duality. For millions of believers, its return could usher in an age of peace and divine reconnection. But you have to remember its legendary power, and think about the geopolitical powder keg that is its most likely location. Its discovery could just as easily trigger a conflict that could engulf the entire world.
So, in the end, after sifting through all the history, the legends, and the prophecies, maybe we're left with this thought. Perhaps the true enduring power of the Ark of the Covenant today isn't about where it might be hidden. Maybe it's about what it represents. A powerful, timeless symbol of humanity's search for a connection to something divine. What do you think?